Good morning, YouTube. It's quite early, and I've been up just taking some notes, thinking about an incident in my own situation yesterday. If you're new to my channel, I call it Forever Altered because once you've been in a relationship with a narc, you are forever altered. Life is never the same. You can never view it through the same set of innocent eyes. The pre-narc belief system is gone. So I decided to start this channel just to offer support to those people that are still in those relationships. As I started looking around for information before I realized what I was dealing with, I found lots of pages in support for those people that had escaped, had gotten away, had ended the relationships, whatever terminology you want to use, but very little for those that were still remaining for whatever reason. And I wanted to offer support for those people. So today I want to talk about what we are to the narc, what those of us that are yoked to the narcissist are to them. It's very common to hear the terms supply, or a more recent, a newer term I hear now is fuel. And those are good analogies of what we are to the narc that we're yoked to. But I thought of another one this morning in the wee hours when I was trying to sleep, and I was recollecting yesterday. I had a situation yesterday with my mom. Actually was taken to the hospital, and I was in the midst of trying to finish up with a client that was a very important situation that needed to be dealt with, involving her life savings, basically. I do resolution work for people that have issues with the IRS, and so I had a major situation on hand, and I had told my mom I would finish up and I'll be right there. I live in town, so I was talking minutes. Well, anyway, in my office, so I messaged my narc and let him know what was going on. And then I finished up the email that I needed to finish up for the client, the phone call and then the email, and then I jumped in the car and I took off, and that started an onslaught of text messages from him while I was at the hospital trying to deal with my mother being sick and having heart issues and scared. I was constantly hearing my phone vibrate as he continued to text me an onslaught of terrible messages. The same typical stuff. I could read you, but it's the same stuff you've all heard. I really wasn't at the hospital. I ignore he and my daughter because I work. So I was working when this happened. So, I mean, just on and on and on. I tried a couple times to, prove where I was, which is ridiculous in that situation. But fast forward to today. I'm sitting here, I'm laying here in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and thinking about that and thinking, I'm just so tired of this. I'm so tired of this behavior, and this seems so immature and lacking focus because it's the same stuff over and over again, no matter what situation, Anyway, so I'm thinking, what am I to this person? And where's the snag? And how do I cut it loose? Here we all are sitting here always feeling like it's so impossible to get away and to leave. And we all have our own reasons. A lot of people have reasons because they're financially yoked to the person. And I get that. And it's a big one. It's a huge one. But even those people that are not financially yoked, well, it's the opposite. The narc is financially yoked to you, so you feel just as stuck. And the name occurred to me, or the analogy occurred to me, that we are mules for them. When you read everything, it tells how the narc has to have somewhere to dump their junk. They have to have somewhere to dump their ugliness and their inadequacies. And what they say to you is what they are really internalizing. Although this morning I want to say, tough shit, I'm sorry for your bad luck, and I'm sorry that you have all this going on inside your head, but what you're doing to me has to take the forefront. The damage that you're invoking on me for my own safety, my own sanity, has to take the forefront to your issues and feeling bad for you and your lot in life and all those things, which is what they tried to keep you hooked with. So we are the mule. I looked up definitions, and a mule is a beast of burden. It's I'm talking urban. An urban definition is it's getting someone to carry your load. Drug dealers find mules to carry in their drugs from wherever they're coming from, and they don't care if that person lives or dies. They have no concern for them at all. They put the load on and get it over the border or wherever it's coming from and drop it to where it's supposed to be. And, if you don't make it, as long as the stuff makes it, that's all I care about. And that's what we are. We are their mules. So I was thinking about that, and what areas are we fulfilling this position of mule? And I came up with 4 areas: emotional, physical, financial, and sexual. And there may be more, but these are the 4 main areas that stood out to me this morning. They achieve this, keeping us in the role of mule, by lies, manipulation, blackmail if necessary, brute force if they have to, intimidating behavior of all sorts, and plotting in the background. They have a ulterior motive, and it's nothing like what you would first perceive or think. In fact, their lives are so secret. Their dual lives or triple or whatever. They have multiple lives going on. And you may think that's not true if you're early in your journey. But I guarantee you, it is true. What you think in the back of your head, what they're telling you are, you can bet that's what they are. So if they're calling you a cheat, guaranteed they're cheating. So, emotionally, we are yoked to them because they're projecting their ugly soul onto us. They have such a deep ugliness about them, how they view the world, how they view you. What they show you on the surface, especially in the love bombing stage, is not even their true feelings about you. You don't see those until they're mad, raging at you, until they show you that side of them, that deviant side of them, and as they, verbally pick you apart. And all the while, you were existing with this person, having no idea that they were picking out your flaws and recording them mentally so that they could throw them back at you. But that's the ugliness of the soul of a narcissist. And if you encounter a relationship, a close relationship, I imagine that dealing with a narcissist in the workforce or at a distance, or a distant family member or something, it has to be awkward, it has to be uncomfortable, it has to be whatever you want to call it. But when there is no space between you and the narc because you're in the same home, or you share, you're married, or you have this much deeper, closer, supposed to be closer commitment to them. It's devastating. The effect they have on you is earth-shatteringly devastating. You spend almost all of your idle time thinking about the situation. So their self-esteem is in the toilet, so they need to make yours that way too. So they emotionally pick at your self-esteem. They record your insecurities. They pick out your perceived faults. I say perceived faults because, this world is made up of imperfect people. We're all imperfect. But to a narc, if you are not, the perfect specimen of a partner, which I don't think they would ever really connect with, because they need to have that role in their mind. So they need to find a lesser partner, someone they think is lesser than them. And you can be a wonderful person, beautiful, smart, intelligent, whatever, all the best traits, but they'll still view you as less than. My narc is especially good at that. He has such an inflated ego that he presents to the outside world. And but he has to keep that position. He has to keep me down in order to keep himself elevated. So they emotionally snag you by the smear campaigns they threaten you with. If you've ever tried to get away and they immediately start pulling everything out that they can, they take a small truth and will elevate it to the point of something that, they'll start telling you they're going to spread this around about you. They'll say you're, whatever. I mean, you're a bad parent. They'll say, if they cheated, they'll say you did it first. You did it. I know you did it, just to alleviate their own. So they're going to say, I'll make sure everyone knows you did this. They emotionally snag you by weakening your foundation of the people that you love and that love you. Telling you that, well, your kids think you're this way as well. They've told me this about you, and I should have listened to your daughters. I get this one all the time. I think maybe 2 conversations that my narc has had with my kids, and at one point one of my daughters was upset, and whatever, I don't know what was said, but all I know is that this was 5 years ago, and the information that he uses, it's bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Now, I mean, I know it's not true. I know that, and because narcs cannot forgive and move on, it's still just like this washing machine. It just keeps going around, and instead of just letting it go, whatever. My daughter was upset. She may have said some things that she didn't mean, or maybe she did mean them, but we got over it when we moved on. And you are still bringing up an argument that was 5 years ago, and you really knew nothing about our relationship at that point, but you were involved in this little bit, and now you're taking every little piece of information that she may have said, exploding it, and trying to make it look like I'm a bad person. Literally yesterday he said that I was crazy and nasty when he met me. That's not true. I have a job, I have children, I mean, I could go on. I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm a worthy person. I know I'm a worthy person, but this is how he literally views me, because of course he needs to, because that's the truth about him. So and another thing I noticed about being emotionally yoked is that they try to see how little they can give you to keep you emotionally hooked. They, in the beginning, they have to love bomb you, and I bet it kills them to do that, truthfully. So they, it's like, imagine them putting a steak into a box, and the dog, comes by and smells it, and oh, that's good, and he jumps in the box and he eats the steak. And so the next day that he puts a smaller steak in the box, and he just keeps getting a smaller and smaller portion of steak in the box, and the dog just keeps jumping in the box. And one day he stops putting any meat at all in the box, but the dog will still jump in the box because the dog's expecting that there'll be a morsel of something in there. And that's what they do with you emotionally. They scale back and scale back what they will give you because they really have no actual true emotional attachments. So therefore, it's all fabricated on their end. It's a game, it's fabricated. In my case, I immediately fell for the poor me position that the narc presented to me. And my empathic nature is to help people. I don't just go help men, I just help people in general. I will help someone if I see a need. That's my nature. It doesn't matter if you're young, old, good looking, bad looking. It doesn't matter. If I see a need and I'm able to help a person, I will do it. He viewed that as weakness and viewed that as ideally what he wanted. But he viewed it as weakness in me. But I required very little love bombing because I was seeking him out to help him because I felt sorry for him. Come to find out, most of the things that I was told were not even true. Just recently, he had told me that a long story, but he actually was in prison. And he told me that he was in prison because he took a charge for a girlfriend. It's a big, long story in another state. And he told me that it was supposed to be, a small sentence, and because he had prior stuff in his history, and because he was discriminated against, he said, he received a long sentence, and he was very angry at the woman for doing this. Apparently, this is his story, and he told me that the girl killed herself while he was there because she was so distraught because of what had happened. And then one day in a rage session, I said something to him about, I'm a little leery because I'm with someone who, one of his girlfriends actually killed herself. That's how devastating you are. And he said, I found out that wasn't true. And that surprised me because he rarely gives me any information to go on. It's really hard to be a super sleuth with someone that's so secretive. But I held on to that little tidbit, and recently I decided to try to look, and I found her. She is alive and well and married and living in another state. I would love it if she would talk to me, but I sent her a couple messages and she hasn't responded, which I don't blame her. All I wanted was the truth. I just wanted to know the truth of that situation. I just wanted to know the depths to which he would lie. But I got a feeling that she literally faked her own suicide to get away from him. Well, he was in there, then she knew she could get away and move, and when he got out, he would never know how to find her. And it was not easy for me finding her because she's married now. Her name has changed. I didn't even know her last name when I started. Long story, but that's not the point of this video. So I required very little. I required very little steak in the box to jump in. And I kept jumping in, kept coming in, bringing him this, bringing him, he didn't have a refrigerator. Here, I have a refrigerator. Oh, you need coffee? Here's coffee. Just like bombarding him with all the stuff to make his life comfortable. And so he didn't have to do anything, really. And the next thing you know, Zoe is here. So now we have this responsibility together, and that's the hook, I guess. So anyway, moving on. Physically, they yoke you. They yoke you physically because, well, a couple of different points that I wanted to point out there. One is, you're physically yoked because when you try to leave, they threaten you of harm, or even worse. I mean, my narc has literally threatened to kill me on several occasions. when he is in the midst of a fit of rage. Do I believe that he would actually do it? I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, I believe, yes, he's capable of it. It would all hinge on whether he can see his daughter or not, I think. But I just don't know the depths. That's partly why I wanted to speak with the lady that I just discovered was alive. Anyway, so they physically yoke you because they go into these violent rages, and it's terrifying. It's scary, and especially if you have a small child, when you're trying to minimize and you can't speak up for yourself because that makes it worse. You have to be quiet to end it, basically, just to get this rage session over, so you can, get to safety or whatever. And you're trying always to keep that from happening, and so that really limits your ability to deal with anything, to deal with life, basically, with him. You can't confront him about any issues or problems. You cannot discuss anything because he will go into a rage, and he will physically, he'll make you afraid of him. An actual harm. I mean, narcissists have killed their spouses or former spouses. They've done all kinds of things. That's a big topic right now in the news. But they also physically snag you because they creep in to your life. Like, not all narcissists rely financially on their mules. Let's call them mules. But mine does. And so, they have no job, let's say. Some have, like I said, some do. But a lot of them, that's one of the things they need. That's some of the supplies that they need the mule to carry. They need them to provide for them. So they have no responsibilities. I mean, in my case, my NARC has a car that I am co-signed with. Can't make his payment in the past 4 months. So who did it? Me. Why? Because my name's on it. So I fell into that trap, my own stupidity. They have no responsibility. They put the burden all completely on you of the financial status. They want the best, the finest of everything. They want the, whatever, but they want you to pay for it. So my NARC has, dishes, garbage, laundry. I put the garbage out every week. If I don't do it, he won't. Too lazy, procrastinate, put it off. Ultimately, he knows I'll do it. Maybe I should stop doing it and just let it build up and let him figure out what to do with it. But I don't do that because I'm always running, trying to make sure everything is done. And I'm the perfect mule for an ARC because of it. They have no schedule, so they wake whenever they want, they go to bed whenever they want, they stay up all night, sleep all day, just whatever feels right, whatever they feel like doing. They're not conventional. They don't have conventional. They don't respond to conventional expectations of life, and so you are, physically working overtime to make sure all of those areas of life are taken care of, not just your job and bringing an income in, but running the household. My NARC is famous for being saying I'm not really working when I am working, which is ludicrous, and saying things like you just want a babysitter, even though he claims that Zoe is the most important thing to him. When he is raging at me, he throws in that I just want a babysitter. Well, you know what? It's the only thing you do. It's the only thing you do. I do everything else. So, So anyway, moving on. Financially, they financially yoke us because many of them do not have jobs. Like I said, this may not be an area that everyone has to deal with. But it could be either way, truthfully. You could be financially yoked to them either way, because you're the supporter or because you're supported. Either way, you're still financially yoked. My NARC chooses to be financially reliant on his mules. I tried in the beginning to get him, quote, an adult life. He had no credit. He didn't really have bad credit because, he always made sure everyone else paid for everything. But he had a few little things, a hospital bill, a few, but for the most part, he didn't have anything. But I helped him get credit cards. He ended up getting 3. I helped him get the car. And he continues to choose to not work and not have money for these things. But yet, the mule did a great job providing him with them anyway. And everything I did to try to set him up with an adult life, I got him a checking account. He's so antisocial, he didn't want to go to the bank. So I went to the bank, got him a checking account. We live in a small town, so I got him a checking account, opened it up. Has to have my name on it too because I was the only person present. And, he said before that I'm controlling him. That's the reason why my name is on his account. So, everything I do, he always can slant it in a bad way. And, like my name is first on the car because he couldn't be the only one. He had to have me first. He couldn't even do it as a cosigner. But that's my fault too. Everything backfired. Everything I tried to do to set him up in an adult life like a normal person would have backfired and only fell onto my shoulders to uphold. They enjoy the benefits, but they put forth none of the cash or the sweat equity or the anything to get to reach, to earn those benefits. Credit cards, paying off their previous debt, insurance, health insurance. I make sure my NARC has health insurance. Since he's been in my care, on my back, let's say it that way, he's had vehicles, he's had food, he's had the best food, he's had credit cards, he's been able to buy anything he wanted pretty much because he puts it on his cards and the dumb mule pays for it. He's had health insurance, he's had car insurance. When I met him, he didn't even have a license because he had been driving while suspended, driving with no insurance. He didn't have a license for years, and I helped him to get a license. I took the stupid course for him that he had to take through the BMV to get less points. I helped pay his fees. His mom helped pay his fees. I got him insurance and paid the special SR22 insurance for the time it took. He got a ticket a couple weeks ago, and he keeps asking me if it's paid. It's not my ticket. It's his. It's his ticket. But I'm supposed to take care of it because I'm the mule. I'm the mule. So I need to just, keep my place and proceed. Do it. Just do it. That's his attitude. So they want the best of everything, but they want it on your dime. And the last way that they manipulate you or put their burdens on you as the mule is sexually. You're sexually yoked with them. You're the dog looking in the box for the morsel of food. You're always looking for that morsel of food. Most of the time when you're in a situation like this, it isn't to you. To you, it isn't about the sex. It is about the emotional attachment. It is about that connection. It is about the feeling loved. It is about feeling like you matter to someone. It is about being held. It is about being kissed. It is about laying close to someone and feeling the connection with them. And that you will never find with an NARC. Never, never, never. So you will relate whatever sexual experiences you have, and no matter how earth-shattering they are, where they are on the spectrum, you'll equate that with love when it really, in fact, is not. You know, it might be passion. It might be passion in the moment, but you'll equate it as love in the moment, and that'll be your dopamine to go on for a while. But you can guarantee that they're not just sharing it with you. If they're calling you a cheat, I said this before, I can't say it enough. If they're calling you a cheat, then they are cheating. I have, like, unearthed my evidence in my case, and I suggest you do the same, because I guarantee you, no matter how good they are at hiding it and covering their tracks, mine actually had multiple relationships, and I'm sure still does right now, but I busted out the ones that I found out about. And I'm sure he's now cultivating a new herd of mules. I like that term a lot. It's very funny. Anyway, so you are their vessel. You are their depository, and you're not the only one, but you're one, and you're convenient because if you're living with them, you're super convenient because you're right there in their house. So, your biggest clue to the fact that you're sexually yoked to a narcissist is it's the reason why you don't feel loved. It's the reason why you scratch your head with this is different. I've been in relationships before. I've been loved by people before. Maybe they didn't last. Maybe I'm not with that person anymore, but there was still truth to the relationship when it was good, and I know how that felt. And this never hits that mark. Never, ever hits that mark. Not even close. And, you know, just like the dog in the box, you just been dumbed down to the point where you're willing to accept what you're getting, and your head plays tricks with you that it's something it isn't. But it doesn't change the fact that it isn't. It doesn't change the fact that it isn't. So if you're like me, you've burned so many resources trying to placate the narc, trying to figure out the puzzle that will make it work. Just trying to have a normal life with this person when there is no amount of energy or resources that you could put into the relationship that would make it be real. And that's the sad truth. And you know, one last thing I wanted to bring up, and then I know it's getting kind of a long video. I hear the term a lot, special. A narcissist believes he's special. And I understand where they're coming from, but I almost want to say, you can't have lived with a narc and just come up with a blasé term like that. Like, it's too shallow of a term. There's not enough depth to that word, special. You know, we want our kids to feel special. When they draw us or color us a picture, we hang it on the fridge and we smile at it when we walk by because that's our kid's picture, you know, and they're special. We love them. You know, special isn't usually a derogatory term, and it's just not multidimensional enough to represent what a narc thinks of themselves. They think they are entitled. They think they are arrogant. They are superior. They are egotistical. They are envied. They think everyone is jealous of them. They think it's okay to exploit another human being. What they think of themselves is not based on any actual evidence of any type. They think, you know, mine happens to think he's very good looking. And although that may be true, when you look at a person and you know, if you see their soul at all, then that changes that picture a lot. And he is not very good looking in that aspect. You know, he's 43. When he's 63 or 73, what is he going to have when he loses what he perceives as such a good looking, demeanor or physical presence? When he loses that, how is he going to manipulate people? What will he have left in his toolbox to work with? That's kind of scary, actually, to think, what happens to the narc as they age, and they don't have as many, their tools aren't as sharp anymore, and they don't have as many in their toolbox anymore to manipulate people. Where do they end up? Are they the ones on park benches, where it's to the point where no one will put up with their shit anymore? I don't know. That's evidenced by the fact that if you look at the history of a narc, or like, for instance, in my case, my narc has no long relationships, none. I mean, he has his family, but they are states away. They are, many states away, and he talks to his mom. I don't even think he talks to his sisters now. After all, he got angry because they were talking to me, and that's forbidden. He doesn't want to share any part of his life with me except for what I see in front of me. That's it. That's the only part of his life he wants to share with me. He can't have all these secrets going on if I'm involved in it. I can't be a part of his Facebook. I can't be a part of anything. He tells me all the time. He had me plug his phone in the other day, and I plugged it in, and when I plugged it in, it came on. And on the front of the face of his phone, it said, "Don't touch my phone." Mind you, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that how I flushed him out cheating was I bought him a phone last year for Christmas, and I put spyware on it. And I found a lot. He wasn't, cheating with some long-term relationships, all kinds of stuff in there. Hotel room hookups on dating sites, videos of him with other women. All kinds. I just found all kinds of stuff. So, but I'm the one that's been called a cheat for the last 5.5 years. But that's typical narcissist. And to me, special just doesn't get it as far as a descriptive word for what a narcissist thinks of himself. So anyway, that's it for today. I don't make as many videos as I used to because I'm very busy, but since I had that wonderful episode yesterday at the hospital trying to be with my mother, it reminded me of how a narcissist behaves, and it made me think about this list of how they yoke you into being their mule, emotionally, physically, financially, and sexually. And maybe now I will be thinking about how I can cut those ties. I was thinking about that this morning, and I realized that probably in my case, cutting the financial ties would be a positive, would have a negative outcome, but it would have, maybe it would make him move on, because that's the point, is he won't move on without all of the ugliness and the smear campaign and the threatening to take me down with him because he has his hand in a lot of illegal stuff. And anyway, so, we focus so much on the emotional aspect of what's being done to us because it's devastating. All of it is devastating, but the emotional part is the worst. Anyway, enough for today. Take care, love you, subscribe, and hope to provide future videos. Take care. Bye.